Welcome everyone to my channel. I'm Andrea, your automated trader. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on the video. In this video, I'm going to explain how to create an expert advisor from scratch. So the first step is to open MetaTrader. Once we've opened MetaTrader, we need to open the editor so we can write in the MQL5 language. To do this, click on this button labeled IDE and our editor will open. So basically, this is our program, to put it simply, that allows us to write the code that will make up our expert advisor. At this point, go to File, New File, and select Expert Advisor Template. This way, we already have a starting template. Let's continue with this process, and we can name it however we truly want to. In this particular case, let's simply call it Prova YouTube for now. Leave the author as is. You can change this information depending on what you want to do, but you can also modify it later in the code. Click Next. Here it asks which functions we want to include. I usually only select the first one, and if I need to, I can always add the others later. You can always do this afterwards anyway. Here, just leave everything as it is and finish. And here it is created. Our expert advisor, that is, our code. Initially, MetaTrader creates it like this, which I really don't like at all, because there are too many lines, the brackets aren't in order, so let's see how I usually fix it. So we can effectively remove this particular part, all these various little things here. We will remove them since we genuinely don't need them. They are not at all necessary. All these specific parts with double slashes are just comments anyway, so they're not actively functioning parts of the code, but rather just comments that we thoughtfully add to our code. So we can simply and easily delete them. If we want to add a comment, for example, we can come to this precise point right after the properties, and we want to add a comment where we can write the detailed description of the strategy. Or we write a whole series of things that we like, we write them down. We have two ways to add comments. One is to use the double slashes, which comments out the entire line. So, as long as you write on this line, it will always be a comment. But if we want to write two lines, for example, we have to put double slashes again and start writing our comment. Another faster method that I use, for example, is to write, usually at the beginning of the expert. I add a few lines where I describe the strategy, also to remind myself, because maybe a year from now, I'll look at the expert and I won't remember exactly what it does. So in the first few lines, I note down the important things, the strategy, if I did something special. Another effective way is to use the / with the asterisk. So from that point down, everything will be comprehensively commented out. In this particular case, we've commented out the entire expert, but let's go ahead and carefully write our comments, perhaps 5 or 6 lines. And to end the comment, we do the exact opposite, an asterisk and then a /. This way, only that specific part is commented out. These are the two primary options we have for adding comments. This also works, for example, on a specific piece of code. If I want to comment out a section so that it absolutely doesn't run, I can use double /, and that particular command won't be executed. Let's finish organizing our code as we precisely need in the most appropriate and logical way. Let's carefully remove all of this. I usually leave this important line and use it to clearly separate the main operational part of the code from the functions I create if I truly need them. For example, I usually put after this line the specialized function that accurately calculates the lot size, because I genuinely like to do it in a separate function, or sometimes I might also add the trailing stop mechanism. Thank you very much, because I call it and use it as a separate function in the code. Anyway, this is something you can decide for yourselves. If you don't like using external functions, you can write all the code directly inside the ontic function and not add anything else. In that case, you can remove the line. You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to arrange the brackets so that they're more readable. Maybe I'll arrange them like this. These are all the functions that are automatically added for you. We'll leave them here, and if we need them, we'll use them. For example, onTrade isn't always used. OnTick is, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to write the code. This one too. OnInit isn't always used, but OnInit is a function that's practically always used. Because here we might, for example, initialize the magic number. We go to insert the indicators, so it's a function we'll use often. Now let's go to the very top part. Obviously, this part with all the slashes for comments, you can leave it. I usually remove it since it doesn't matter, but it's up to you whether you want to keep it or not. Here we have the essential properties, which are fundamentally data elements that do not significantly affect how the underlying code actually works. They are primarily for copyright purposes. Instead of displaying MetaTrader's name, for example, you can certainly put your very own copyright information and your specific name. You can truly put whatever you desire and wish to include. Here is the link. Perhaps you have a website, and instead of this generic example, you would certainly put your very own specific site, for instance, mariorossi.com. Hey, the property version is incredibly important because if you are developing an expert system, you might initially make version 1.00, then subsequently version 1.1, then 1.2, then 1.3, and so on, continuing this progression. And you save each version so you have the different developments you're working on for the expert, because you might need at some point to go back to a previous version to start over, to make changes, so that's how it works. In the next video, we'll see exactly how to build our expert. So this is the initial format that we will start writing in to create an expert that does certain things. Thank you, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like on this video.